So what we got? We got another special sort of Restless Isle thing tonight. We're going to talk about classic horror films and stuff. We've got Kirk over that side. Can't. I don't know why I'm pointing. You're not going to be able to tell who I'm pointing.
You ain't going to know which
And this is my old mate Ant. He's new to the Restless crew.
Evening.
So go on then. Kirk's a little bit younger than us too, because we're old. We were around when Noah was putting animals on arcs and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Kirk, your first horror film you saw as a kid. What's your first memory of the first scary movie you ever saw?
Just being terrified by it. I think it was House on the Haunted Hill with black. I think was it black and white.
Oh, we're talking the original House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The TV was black and white. I was watching it on, so who knows? But I just remember being terrified. I can't even remember what happens in it, but I think that was the first one that ever scared me.
What's his name? That's Vincent Price, was it? I can't remember. Because you had that and then Return to House on Haunted Hill as well. I remember those, but mine was Elm Street 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I remember watching it Freddy's Revenge, watching it with my cousins when I was about 8 years old and absolutely crapping myself. Do you remember the scene in the shower? Yeah. But no, before that, where he's in the shower and he's whipping him on the arse with the towels. Stuff like that. I'll have to see if I can sort of feed that in along here to watch. That was messed up, but I remember that film scaring me. And that was my introduction into the whole slasher things. What would that have been? Like 1985 or something. Yeah, what about you, Anne?
So I was born.
I just always will remember watching The Exorcist. First time seeing that, hearing about it and seeing it. I don't know how old I was. Because even though we're very old, it was still out before us. So.
Yeah, I remember first time I watched that, I was late teens, I think. I got a bootleg copy off of some guy in the arcade on VHS that had The Exorcist 1 and 2 on it. Because obviously it was banned over here till, 90... I don't even know when it came out. Mid-90s?
Yeah, it was the early 90s, wasn't it?
I think it was mid-90s. So I remember going to the cinema to watch it. Eventually. But no, that is a classic movie.
I'm going to upset you now. I've never sat through and watched the entirety of that film. Most of what I know about The Exorcist came from a scary movie.
Look, mate, it's right there. You're borrowing this.
Yeah, I'll have to borrow.
There's two versions on there. You've got the director's cut and the original documentaries.
I don't think I would have sat through the whole thing when I was younger because there's the intros. It's quite long, isn't it? It's the desert.
It's a slow burning film, isn't it? I mean, if you look at it from stuff going on, it's the last 30 minutes of the film where it gets interesting for people. But I love it from that bit at the start in the desert where they find the idol with I can't remember how bad's that. I can't remember the name of the demon. But I love it. I love the whole hospital treatment and all the different things she goes through trying to find out what's wrong with this kid.
Yeah.
And then I just love later on in the movie, I think it's a deleted scene, I think it's only in the director's cut, with the two priests sat on the stairs and he's sort of saying, why this child? And there's like this nice 5-minute speech between the two of them about good and evil and the devil trying to ruin the purest form of something. And I watched it again the other night and I just love it. Absolutely love it.
Do you think you would find it different watching it now after having children? Because obviously it's based on a woman's daughter. Do you think now you would watch it and it would touch you even more, affect you even more? Now, now I'm got a daughter. I kind of think maybe if I watch it again now, it might. Even...
I think when you watch any sort of film or show or whatever, when children are in peril, that affects you differently once you have kids. But as far as the Exorcist goes, because I have no belief. We were talking about this on the video the other night. I have no belief in like Ouija boards and possessions and stuff like that. I think it's an old thing when people didn't know what mental illness was. Yeah. So they lean towards possession when it, someone's bipolar or something.
Right, isn't it?
Mental thing, yeah. So no, I just love that film. I find the whole feel of it just brilliant. Yeah. And it's not even that it scares me. I don't know. I love the story behind it. I love the hysteria that you sort of read about in articles when it first came out, having priests in foyers blessing people as they come out to cinemas and people being sick. And the overreaction to it is, it's fantastic. But if you watch some of the documentaries on there and how they made that film, sort of making a massive fridge and literally just sitting in it for hours filming these scenes, it's just incredible
Yeah.
film. But so Kirk, so you're like you say, what you a few years younger than us, not many.
32.
Oh,
32. 32.
nice. Oh, that's so
How come I look younger than you?
Oh, do you fuck? Look at those grades, man.
when his face came on the screen, I went, "Oh, you're still looking good, mate." He went, "Yeah, I know."
He's so modest.
Right. I'm up.
Yeah.
So you must have watched though, Kirk, all the Elm Streets and the Friday the 13th and the Halloweens.
I will have seen some of them just from when they were on the TV and whatever as a kid. I think like probably the last time I watched one of them all the way through, I was about 16. You know,
Sure.
I just remember after. I couldn't tell you which ones I've seen. I remember I've seen parts of the Nightmare on Elm Street one where they're playing themselves, aren't they?
Oh, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that, but from
Yeah,
I'm not.
that's quite an interesting take on the whole franchise. But it must be, I suppose, when you watch, like, if you've seen the older ones like Elm Street 2, 3, 4, 5, do they come across as cheesy to you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Massively so. Yeah. Like, what was that one that zombie one you lent me? So was it something to do with I'm going blank now. Like a meteor or something comes down.
Oh,
Says-
Night of the Comet.
was it Night of the Comet? Something like that. That was just utter cheese.
I love that film, man. Do you
Just
remember that?
that.
Night of the Comet.
I haven't seen that.
Where they're having a party and obviously a comet comes down overnight and pretty much wipes out the planet unless you're in lead-lined rooms or something in it that protects you from the radiation. And they've got the whole of New York City or wherever it is to themselves, haven't they? And,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. But it's interesting because Elm Street was my event every year as a kid growing up. You would wait every year; they would knock another one out.
Mm.
You know, and the more they went on, the stupider they got. Freddy become like a comedian almost in the later ones, standing flying around on a broomstick with a witch's hat on and all that sort of stuff.
I got obviously Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Was that Dream Warriors? I remember my brother came down. I was going to say the mainland then. God, I don't even live on the island anymore. Came down from the mainland. He came over and he bought me an ex-rental video shop copy of.
Did it have Freddy with a glove like that with a long grey coat on?
It might well have done.
Yeah,
cool. But I just remember watching it and thinking back now, it had a big scratch on the bottom, and it's just unbelievable that we used to watch things. You used to be able to watch a whole film in that kind of quality compared to what you watch now.
Videotapes, kind of things you used to have.
Yeah, I remember videotapes. I mean, I got a tape player for my 12th birthday. That's what I wanted. Video player. I went next door to rent a video. It was, I think, Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. Oh, crikey. But no, it's see, Kirk, you surprised me. I thought you would have watched all those films like religiously as well.
I mean, I like horror films, but I've genuinely never sat down, like even with Scream and all of that. I've never sat down and watched all of them.
Just get off the call, mate.
Yeah, just hang up. It's like Saw. Everyone was going crazy. Obviously, this is a more modern one. Everyone was going crazy about Saw, and just don't interest me. I watched the last one, and I'm like,
I don't class Saw as a horror film.
no,
I don't. Talking about Scream, I don't class Scream as necessarily horror either. It's a slash, but I think it's more thriller.
Yeah.
Like, maybe controversial statement to make, but Controversial statement to make. What am I
You'll be editing that out. Mate.
I think I will be. But I don't know. I think class Elm Street and that is horror films. Friday the 13th are horror films. Halloween's. I don't know.
I've never taken any of the Friday the 13th films. I didn't really like the first one. I don't know why. It's where you can get where some 80s horror films are badly acted, but they're kind of so entertaining.
Yeah.
Whereas Friday the 13th is so badly acted, I can't see through it. It's just shit. People love it.
Oh, so yeah, I've got a soft spot for Friday the 13th. Don't get me wrong, they're not the best because they are there. I think you had Halloween, didn't you? And Friday the 13th was it Paramount or Universal? I can't remember.
You get into I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, basically, it was their version of Halloween, wasn't it? Halloween came out, made a load of money. So they're thinking. I mean, after Halloween, you had Friday the 13th. You had every other holiday you can think of. Black Christmas, Bloody Valentine. They're all the same films. A guy in a mask walking around stabbing babysitters or something.
How soon after Halloween was Friday the 13th then? What's the year?
Halloween, top of my head, I think 78, 77, 78, I want to say. And Friday the 13th didn't come out till 1980, I think, because they managed a Halloween sequel before that. And then I think the first Elm Street was 1984. So that came along later. But I think Elm Street, especially the original, the first one, stands on its own because it's a totally different take on it. I love the whole being killed in your dreams, and I love the story of Freddy Krueger. I think out of them all, Freddy's my favourite backstory because you don't really know why Michael Myers did what he did in Halloween, especially the originals. They tried to explain it in those awful Rob Zombie remakes, didn't they? But and Jason makes no sense because his mum was the original killer in the first film, and then
I remember that.
He just rocks up in the sequel as a fully grown man, even though he was meant to have drowned in Camp Crystal Lake, which is the reason she was killing in the first film anyway. What is Jason? Is he alive? Is he a zombie? I think he's meant to be a zombie, isn't he?
He's dead, isn't he? Because you can't kill him.
Whereas Michael Myers is just a man, and Freddy is a dream demon or whatever. There was so many horror films that come out, sort of like early 80s, wasn't there? Because video had just come out and they were cheap to make. People just knocked them out constantly, and some of them were like Driller Killer and stuff like that.
Netflix does now.
Yeah, pretty much that. It's pretty much that, and every film had a sequel. But mixed up in them was some great films. So Evil Dead, one of the best horror films ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Evil Dead.
Evil Dead 2, possibly even better. It's just basically a remake of the first film with more money chucked at it. What else? I'm trying to think of films that sort of slipped under the radar. I watched as a kid. I'll tell you what, those
Critters. That was a brilliant Critters. Now that I love.
Critters.
Jesus.
Yes.
That came along sort of 87, I think, 86. I think that
wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio famous in the third one?
Yeah, he did the third one where it's in the apartment complex, isn't it? I think they were made in the 90s, those ones, the later two.
I'll always remember the first one sticks vividly in my head.
Yeah. It's the second one in it, but they make that massive ball and just.
Do you ever see Ghoulies?
Yes.
Ghoulies. Yeah.
There was a little bald alien.
Yeah.
He was on the cover. It was awesome.
Yeah.
They made a few of those, didn't they? Like Ghoulies Go to College and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous sequels because that's what they did. They just knocked out the film.
Churned them out.
But I sort of, when I got to a point when you used to go into Woolworths or wherever, you used to go to the mainland with mum and dad or something, you go like somewhere special like R Price or whatever was around at the time.
Woolworths.
And I would pick up do you remember the Cinema Club videos, Anne? They were like $5.99 each. And they had the little cinema logo on the spine at the top, little gold rectangle cinema, whatever.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember
and I bought Demons 1 and 2, which were I can't remember his name. I can't pronounce his name. He's an Italian director, D.R. Angentino. I want to say. And I think I lent them to you, Kurt, didn't I?
Yeah, it was those ones I was on about, not the Night of the Comet. Then.
Yeah, the one where they're in the cinema.
In the cinema, and then he comes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I've
then
seen
the second
that's
one's
the
in the
first
apartment. Yeah, they are amazing.
Cheesy.
That film, when I first saw it, terrified me. Absolutely terrified me. The first one, I hated it, but I had to keep watching it.
Yeah.
And I think the effects in it are amazing as well for the time.
With music by Billy Idol, Motley Crue, The Adventures, Rick Springfield, and Saxon. This is no dream. This is happening right now. And it could be happening to you. Demons. They will make cemeteries their cathedrals, and the cities will be your tombs. Will you survive it? Demons.